Hi, I'm Gemma Craven,
And I'm Jeffrey Cologne.
and welcome to the Wednesday Word on Social. It's April 26th, and we're here today to talk about brands and superfans, and more specifically, super employees as superfans. We're seeing many more companies, big brands, look to their employee communities to spread the positive word in social spaces. And so today we'll be talking through some points for consideration on the topic. So, Jeffrey, why would any company, any brand look to their employees as brand advocates in social spaces?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, most employees spend more time at their job than they do at home. The majority enjoy their job, and a lot of them are active on social platforms. They probably like the company that they work for on Facebook. They probably follow them on Twitter. So it really makes sense to tap into them when it comes to using them in a social space, sort of as an advocate or an amplifier of companies' campaigns, products, etc.
That's all well and good, but why wouldn't you just work with bloggers or media when you're thinking about brand advocacy in social spaces?
Well, bloggers and media, I think they're still important.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we hit a wall sometimes with influencers. So what you're seeing now is, social is supposed to be this this road that allows everyone to have a voice. So if you're just relying on specific gatekeepers and they say, well, I'm not going to help amplify your new product launch, you can't just say, well, we have no strategy at all. We still have to launch this new product. And I think the best pipeline to use are your employees, especially the ones that are really excited about having worked on that particular campaign.
Right. Are there any specific situations when you think these kind of employee superfans, as we're going to label them today, are particularly important? Because obviously there's the everyday conversation and communication around, say, a brand page on Facebook, as you've mentioned, but is there a situation when they might be specifically useful?
Yeah, I think in situations where there might be some infighting in a community, you might have some negativity. I think a superfan really helps so that a community manager doesn't have to come in and censor comments. One of the rules in terms of community management is you like having a super fan because they sort of step in and do the job for you by saying, hey, we don't really like that particular opinion, or be a little bit more respectful of other people in the community. So they do that job in a nice fashion, which keeps it sort of an even playing field for everyone to have conversation.
We've also seen, interestingly, in times of detractor activity in a specific community that may well have been unjustified, that there's these employee superfans who come to the rescue, I'm going to say, of the company, of the brand, to set the record straight, which I think is a build on what you're saying. So it's all well and good. How would a company go about finding these internal brand advocates?
Well, I think the first area is using internal communications. So the department within a company that's handling social would probably send out an email asking employees, are you active on our social properties? Do you like social media? Is it part of your daily routine?
Mm-hmm.
And get them to come to a forum where they can tap into their expertise in terms of using them as a super fan. I think the other thing too is just by doing some social listening, trying to identify who is obviously an employee of yours at like larger global companies, and then approaching them through social and saying, hey, we noticed that you share a lot of material that we're pushing out,
right,
that you're very active in these communities, and we'd love to sort of bring you in so that we can get you active when it comes to actual PR amplification or product development news or just anything that falls within the social realm that you can use these super fans.
And obviously, as with any kind of ongoing social program, it's not just launch and leave. is any thoughts on how these super fans, these employee brand fans, could be activated on an ongoing basis in an authentic way?
Yeah, I love that term, launch and leave. It's sort of the old web was launch and leave. Now it's really launch and learn in terms of constant engagement. I think it's a matter of when you have these super fans, you talk to them as much as possible in a real environment, but you also talk to them in a social environment, and you ask them a lot of questions. What do you like about our engagement or non-engagement? Are there other things that we could be doing? What are you sensing from people talking about us in the community that we can sort of do things in a better way? And then you actually use them sort of as a soldier to help sort of carry that out. I think companies that can do that are going to do really well going forward, just because they're going to have more than just the community manager doing those inciting those discussions. They're going to have a large swath of employees that are going to be involved in the actual engagement, as well as helping answer certain questions from people. It shouldn't really always fall onto just one community manager at a brand or an agency to do that. The best person that can answer some of these questions are actual employees themselves.
Right. I mean, it's not going to be every employee in a company, and obviously there's some learnings here when it comes to best practices, such as establishing very specific guidelines for using social, as we do with all brands when it comes to compliance and identification and understanding the relationships that are set in place. So any other best practices in your experience for working with employees as these brand advocates?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always important for employees to identify themselves as an employer for the brand. Otherwise, it looks like they're trying to be sneaky.
Right.
That they're, they may have an answer, and then someone finds out, wait a minute, you actually work for the brand and you didn't identify yourself. Why should I believe what you're saying? Whereas if you say, I'm an employee of the brand, and then you give an answer, people will at least be able to say, okay, this person is being upfront about who they're being paid by. Very similar to how an influencer would have to say, I'm being paid by the brand to review something, which is basically an FTC guideline. I think employees need to do the same. And also, I think there's some things that employees should not comment on. So if there's specific news that the company says, you know what, don't say anything on this matter. That needs to be sort of briefed ahead of time, so that when employees who you're using as a super fan, they know, hey, if there's any breaking news that might be harmful to the company, it's best to just not say anything at all in a social environment, and just leave that up to the PR department.
Yeah, so I think a robust training package would cover that for employees, to give them a sense of these guardrails and exactly the rules of the road, which is great. So let's think about, finally, examples of companies doing it well. Now, Best Buy is oft discussed in terms of employee engagement and 12th Force, but any others out there that we should be looking to as a good example of a company really working well with its employees in social?
Yeah, I mean, a few come to mind. Coca-Cola has always done a very good job in this area. Even pre-social, I think they were very good about getting their employees engaged with the brand. In the sense of, they would always say, hey, buy our products. Right. So that was always like sort of a role within Coca-Cola. And now I think one of the things is, hey, engage with us or talk about us within social. I think Nike does it really well with their employees when it comes to product launches. I mean, with the Fuel Band, there were a lot of Nike employees talking about that on Twitter. That sort of helped engagement levels. And then also in terms of an Ogilvy client, I mean, IBM, I think, is doing a really good job in the sense that they have a lot of subject matter experts in technology, and those are the best people to talk about your product line, because they actually are the ones that develop it, and they are very active in the social space now, and I think will be going forward.
And disclosure, Coca-Cola is also an Ogilvy client. So great. Thanks, Jeffrey. This has been the Wednesday Word. We'll see you soon.